Aparna, please take a seat. Um, there's this other person who I got a chance to work with many moons back. She was working with Leo Burnett at that point of time, and we were doing a poster shoot. And her standard line to me: "Stand straight. What are you doing? Stop being an actor. Just stand straight and let us shoot our poster." And over the years, she's become this prolific filmmaker. She started with Neil Bhatte Sanate, has made one of my personal favorite films. Have you all heard of this film called Bareilly Ki Barfi? Give it up for Ashwini Iyer Tiwari joining us. Come on up, Ashwini Iyer Tiwari. Gosh, I took you way long back, didn't I? Very long back. We have another powerhouse who's coming straight on the heels of, making this successful show called Rocket Boys and also this successful film called Chatterjee. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody who likes Parsis, and because of that, I like her. Monisha Advani, can we have you on stage, please? Heavy on the heels of her very much talked about important film. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call upon Ashima Chibar, the director of Chatterjee versus State. Norway State. देखो जो next आ रहा है ना उसके लिए मैंने कुछ खास लिखा है just so that I can be in her good books. Very popular person you all will know. Popularly known as Athiloka Sundari, this actress is one of the brightest and most promising stars of the Indian cinema. She has navigated her journey at her own terms across all languages of India, working with the biggest stars across. We are pleased to welcome none other than Ms. Rakul Preet Singh. And now I'm going to call upon the man who every man in this whole conference today will be envious of, because he'll be seated amongst these fantastic ladies and having a conversation with them. I mean, what would men not give to be having that seat? But Nakkul, we are very proud that you are having that seat. Ladies and gentlemen, Nakkul Mehta, one of the best faces we have on celluloid Indian TV and one of the most well-spoken, articulate, sensitive men. ये इसने मुझे बोला था ये बोलना. अभी आप लोग देखना ये सेशन के बाद ये खरा उतरता है कि नहीं. Nakkul, how envious am I of you right now? Personally, at least. I don't know about the other men, but congratulations. Have a great session. Ladies and gentlemen, she leads.
A very good afternoon. I think post-lunch sessions are usually the hardest for everybody. We're struggling to sleep and sometimes just, having spent a busy morning. But please bring yourself some coffee. It's going to be an interesting session. I will try to speak minimum. And feel free to interject me, stop me, ignore me. I am here. I think Fcci Frames has been very kind. We are in this country, we're very used to having panels, right? And it wouldn't be surprising if you would have a panel of men speaking about women in filmmaking. But we went the other way and we said we'll get all these trailblazers and champions of storytelling and filmmaking, to really talk to us about it. And just so that no man cries foul, they threw me for representation, right? So, I really don't know how I qualify to do this. I'm someone who owes my career and any kind of sort of success or stardom to television, which again has been built because of amazing collaborations and partnership with some splendid women who have helmed and produced and written and directed all the work I've done on television, right? And very rarely do we get rooms like this, such beautiful rooms, where we can maybe take another half a minute and talk about them and champion them. So I'm just going to quickly name these people who've been like the reason I've had some kind of career. So starting from my first producer, Kavita Barjatia, to Gule Nagma Khan, to Ekta Kapoor, to my writers, Mukta Dhon, Nikita Dhon, Deepa, Sarita Tanwar, Yukti Anand, Harneet Singh, Fatima, Rohini ma'am, the bunch of amazing trailblazers. And from those trailblazers to these, right? I'm going to start off by telling you about, I'm not telling you, all of you know it, film students here, film appreciators. From the days of Raja Harishchandra, right? Indian cinema's first film where the female characters were portrayed by all men, to today having a number of incredibly powerful women who now lead our stories Indian cinema has come a long, long way, right? We've always been OTT, over the top, but mercifully, a lot more women influencing creativity right at the very top exists today. And it's not to say that we did not have women early in the business. The first powerful superstar boss and studio boss and superstar in Indian cinema was in fact a woman, Devika Rani. And she was not only the biggest star of her times, but she gave the industry some of the biggest legends, Madhubala, Dilip Kumar, Ashok Kumar, and of course, Madan Kumar, man. You know what I mean. I didn't say it, it was a show Aparna made. So, yeah. Even outside the Bombay talkies, there was someone called Fatima Begum, who was India's first director, you know, and actually forget first woman director. She was the first genre director. She made a fantasy epic film called Bulbule-e-Paristan way back in 1926. And who can forget the fearless Nadia, you know, the cult action films she gave us. So today I'm just very honored to sit with, you know, few fearless Nadias of our times, the OTT stans of our times, the Devika Ranis of the Indian film, television and entertainment industries. We have with us the wonderful Aparna, Ashwini, Monisha, Rakul and Ashima. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you so much.
And they shine.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you. I think these are very actionable points which both of you shared. And I think you can talk about pay parity and all of that, but like what you guys are doing at ground level is what really matters. And I think what you've done with the loo is also made men more hygienic. Men need to wash their hands and be slightly more hygienic, and I think it'll just cut through all genders. Time's up, but I don't think our time's up here because I think our time has started and now will always be. Before we sort of close this, I have a couple of thoughts in my mind. I'm going to leave them to you, and please, like whoever feels like joining. I know, Aparna, you do this at Prime. You have a women's collective, first women's collective, Maitri. What do you all feel about, you know, creating a network of safe space for young women filmmakers, writers, directors? And what I really personally want to understand is how can sort of male allies be more supportive of this change? And also, is there enough support from men in the business? That's one part of it. And the second part of it, there's a lot of work now because of streaming. It's great. But has that changed your original aspiration in any way of why you came here? Yeah, so just parking these two thoughts, and whoever would like to take a go at them.
Well, I think I'll add to, I'd like to say something about the change in aspiration. I mean, when obviously the streaming pattern has changed, and when I decided to be an actor, you obviously have the big love for cinema and you want to see yourself on the big screen, and that's the dream that you live. But I also feel that with changing times, keeps changing the technology and the consumption patterns and the viewing patterns. I mean, there was black and white cinema, and then came colored cinema, and then now it's reached your homes, and there's, you know, the series pattern which is being consumed. So I think we also need to, yes, of course, you do feel that you want to be on the big screen, but I think both the formats have their own pros and cons and reaches completely different sets of audiences. I think the beauty about the entire OTT streaming is that you can make long format shows, tell stories which you can't concise in 3 hours or 2 hours for a screen. And I think it just creates so much more opportunity for people to work, for directors, actors. So I think it's just a new space. It's not that one space is going to take away another, but it's just like a newfound love now, to be able to tell newer stories. Maybe, you know, this was for dance and song and singing and, you know, all the glamour, but if I want to do something hard-hitting, I've got this. So I think both can beautifully coexist, and yeah, it's a newer aspiration.
No, absolutely.
I'll take the second part of your question because Rakul's beautifully articulated what OTT and what films can do. How can men be our allies? I think just listen. It's taken us a very, very, very long time to just enter through that door into the room. Listen to us. Allow us that space to just speak. I remember this one time a colleague of mine could come, in my previous organization, couldn't come for a long time. And, all of us were sitting and we asked her what happened, and she said, well, my child was unwell and my in-laws had come. And the male colleagues who were sitting alongside started doing, and she goes again. Yes, she will. because nobody has heard her for a very, very long time. Nobody has heard her stories. Listen to us. Just include us. Just be there for us. See us. That's important.
And if I may, I just want to add one more thing because we are talking so much about women power and change and empowering women. I think, we've always, in the recent past, we've been talking a lot about feminism and saying, women should be feminists. But I think the real change, the true change will happen when we see men promoting feminism, when we have men as feminists who believe that men and women need to be given an equal space to work, grow, achieve, and flourish. So I think all the men out there, this is a request to you that let the women push the women in your life to be feminists and be feminists yourself.
Just listen. Absolutely. I just want to quickly add 20 seconds of just my reflection on what both of you just shared. You're absolutely right about listening, and I take great pride in being a feminist, but only very recently, I've been reflecting a lot. I think post-pandemic is just, like, you slow down and you reflect, and I've realized that whilst I think I am a feminist, I noticed myself, so I've been married to my wife about 10 years now, dated her for 9 years before, so we've literally grown up together, had a...
Now, and thank you. So to them, I couldn't say anything. How do you can't pull up everyone and tell them, hey, I wasn't sitting free, but this is how my journey was possibly
working
designed.
more than ever.
Yeah, and possibly it was designed, and I'm so grateful that it happened this way because I had grown to know myself, my craft, learn about the industry, have more experience, and be prepared for Bombay, which is a much more competitive space. So by the time I came here, because during Yare, I was really young and naive and I didn't know anything. So all those 4-5 years, 6 years of work and experience that I had in the South Indian industries, that made me who I was. The discipline that I learned from there, the kind of work ethic that I picked up from there, it was amazing. So when I came in here, I was like, I just shut an ear to that conversation. I was like, people will see my work and let the work speak for itself. So I think a lot of times it's not about just this conversation, but many a times there could be media narratives and more, actually many times than reality, So there could be a media narrative, but sometimes you just choose to not answer and not get affected and let your work speak for yourself. And I think that's what I did at that point. And coming to the gender pay parity, disparity, this is a very difficult, there's no one answer to this actually, and I have a very different opinion on it. I feel when Priyanka Chopra said what she said, she has become a global icon. She is someone who has the ability to pull stars to theaters. So I feel what really needs to happen is that your pay needs to be decided on how much crowd you're truly pulling to the theaters, as opposed to what gender you are.
Wonderful.
I think that's more important, because when we stop questioning and having these questions and conversations about pay parity based on man or woman, then the scenario will change. I think what's important is, are you creating good content? Is the audience excited to see your film? Whether you are a male actor or a female actor or a character actor, whoever, if you are attracting audiences, you should be paid, and there needs to be some sort of a proportional math to that, but not on the basis of gender.
Absolutely fair.
May I just add something to this, Nakkul? So, it's absolutely incredible that after 22 years, Priyanka Chopra achieved that pay parity. But I feel like this question needs to be looked at with a wider lens. And it again comes back to the issue of representation. At Prime Video, we had partnered on this report called O Womania about women representation in films. And about 150 films and series were surveyed that launched and released in 2021. And while we've made great strides, but the insights were astonishing. There were only 10% women in HOD positions, of the 150 films. Not one film edited or directed by a woman. The fact that women had 25% less screen time, talk time in the trailers of the films. That half of the women who were featuring in the films and series were not even on posters of those films. We need to work at that. We need to increase that. And while the camera doesn't know whether the director behind is a woman or a man, the eye is different. The way a scene is shot is different. While the pen doesn't know whether the handwriting is a woman or a man, the way a scene is written, the way the camera would hold on a woman's expression, instead of a woman breaking down, the restraint that a woman captures is very, very different. And that is why representation matters. And that is why it's imperative for us to keep the doors open and intentionally work towards that.
So wonderful, I think. Intentionally work towards it.
To add one point, sorry, I know we're running out of time. You can see time's up there. But it's very important conversation. So in all our agreements and everything, and especially once you're a producer, or even when I was as a director, when I've signed my agreements, this is one thing, which I've always been fighting for, that you can cut your budgets wherever you want, but you cannot cut a budget when we need a vanity, especially just one door vanity for women to use the loo. And this is mandatory in all my shoots. And now, by now, like everyone knows about it. So it's like, okay, she's there. We need one vanity now, because it is a problem. I remember going and using loos, and I don't know where all, we always used to keep one bike on standby, and any production guy or any assistant director, whoever was there, we would say, okay, there is a break time, let's just quickly go find the nearest restaurant, and we would have kept that restaurant for the whole day, saying that we would be coming here using the loo and coming back. And because we are in a country where we'll be shooting in smaller towns or anywhere, and loo is a big problem. Toilets are a big problem in the country, especially for women. So this is a mandatory thing right now, is that if I'm shooting, I need a loo. Doesn't matter, whether it is a makeup woman or a hair woman, there has to be one door vanity for women to use the loo. And it has become so much that now that vanity has sanitary napkins, it has sanitizers, it has everything. It's become like a little, hotel bathroom where you have everything there. So this becomes a mandatory for us. And that's how I think we as filmmakers, we as storytellers or producers or whatever we call ourselves as, are responsible to keep changing the way we address women in the media industry, including how the media writes about us. I cannot be called as anyone's wife after making so many movies, or I cannot be called as anyone's daughter, or so and so. No, we have to be called ourselves, and everyone is usually responsible. Every man and woman in this country is usually responsible for how they push their women out there to make sure that they stand out.